we're going to get started again, and my official coin toss person has vanished on me. But what we're going to do, we're going to flip a coin in the interest of total transparency and randomness. We're going to flip a coin, and the winner of the coin toss can decide if they would like to go first on answering the opening, on responding to the opening comments, or if they prefer to go first on the closing comments. So,
Who has the coin?
I have a coin in my hand. I'm going to ask Carl to do the flip because, you know, we have to be totally appropriate. Well, like who?
Call in the air.
We're just going to land on the floor, okay?
Oh,
Who's calling?
you
Go.
you call. Your name is first
You're
alphabetically.
calling it.
Yep.
Heads.
Where it lands.
Did you call it?
I called heads.
Okay.
That is a tails.
It's tails.
That's
So
the tails.
Jen, you pick.
I will receive first.
Just like the NFL.
That's right.
All right, excellent, good. So as you guys know, we have two candidates for mayor, Jen McIntamby and Eric
Mamula.
Mamula. Thank you. Both are long-term Breckenridge residents. Both have served stints on town council, and both have an extensive list of boards and committees that they've been involved in. So I'm going to cut to the chase because the first question, which will go to Jen, is to introduce yourself and articulate what you hope to accomplish in the position of mayor over the next 4 years. What tools and skills do you bring to the position?
All right. My name's Jennifer McTamney. I've lived here for the last 17 years. I was immediately had the opportunity to see that I came from New York City, and it was a small town here, and I could really make a difference. First thing I did was help the board of Little Red Schoolhouse raise $1.1 million. You know, and from there that led to my term on council. Had I had the opportunity in 2014 to run for mayor, I would have been there. I really feel that the mayor sets the tone of the council, and I believe this town needs a mayor who's transparent and engaged in all facets of the community, builds collaborative solutions, and then leads the town forward together. I think that the work we've done in public engagement over the last 5 years, with John Warner naming that as one of the main council goals, has come so far. When we started that 5 years ago, you know, we still had one person showing up for our budget hearings, and that was Carol Rockney. I really feel like, having participated in parking, in the rec center things, that we are really engaging our public. Those are the kind of things I want to continue us along those paths. I have, you know, you can go to my website and see all the work that I've done. I managed the Pro Challenge for the last 2 years. I have the ability to run a great meeting, but I also want to make sure that all the voices on the council get heard. I want to make sure the community gets heard. I want to work together and hash things out and build a solution that is reflective of our community. And I think that with my leadership, that those are the things that I can make happen for us.
Excellent, Eric.
As most of you know, I run and have run on Main Street a highly successful restaurant, and I have spoken with many of you over the years, like I speak with many people on a daily basis about issues in town, issues in their lives. I have a bunch of employees that I, you know, herd around and take care of their needs and you know, what the things that bother them, things that bother them about the town, things they love about the town. That combined with, you know, my fairly extensive resume for doing stuff in the government. I was first elected to the Sand District in '94 and have a fairly unbroken record of fire department, open space, planning commission, town council for 8 years. I went back on planning commission because I'm a sucker for punishment. And you know, now I've been sitting in town council meetings getting ready for this. So I think I have a great package of leadership to offer this town. Towns, you know, the great things about our town and about our town government is the people that work for it. We have wonderful employees, and I talk to those people on a daily basis at the restaurant. So I think, you know, really in a nutshell, that's what I bring. I bring a strong leadership package and a wealth of experience in just running the machine of Breckenridge.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, good. So we heard extensive discussion from the town council candidates on parking and transit. I would like to ask you guys to react to their comments and ask you if you have anything else to add. What do you see as critical components or successes of a parking and transportation solution, particularly focusing in on anything that wasn't addressed in the town council forum, or any places where your perspective may differ from what was put forward there. So let's start with Eric, and then we'll go to Jen.
Yeah, I thought the council did a great job of answering the questions. Like I think Randy said, we're in the middle of a study right now, so anything I say may be a little premature. And like Jeffrey said, what a wonderful problem to have. And I hate to say wonderful, but when I opened the restaurant in 1989, that problem didn't exist. And I also really couldn't afford a place to live at the time. So, these things go hand in hand. Well, I am so busy now, and we are so busy at a town that I can afford things that I couldn't afford when I opened. And I never dreamed when we moved to Breckenridge in '86 that we would be sitting here looking at every Saturday. You always say you build the church for Easter. Well, every Saturday is Easter now during the season. I mean, it is insane. So it's a great problem to have. And I am looking forward to solving it. One of my real things is the transit component, and making sure that this package that we come up with is not only good for the tourists and creates a good experience for them, but creates a good experience for us. I want to be able to take the purple route and get to the rec center without having to pass through the transit center and waiting for the yellow bus to get there. There's little things like that, little components of the transit package that I really want to be involved in fixing for everybody. Bus to Warriors Mark. Obviously you like to get a bus to the farther reaches, Alma, Frisco, but we really need to concentrate on what we have here. Trying to get employees out of cars, because I guarantee you, a lot of our parking problem is employees. And I chase my employees out of the Ice House lot behind the restaurant on a constant basis, and I'm sure every other employer in town does the same. So I think transit's a big part, and I'm looking forward to working with the consultants.
All right, Jen.
Yeah, I concur with you about transit. Honestly, the council people did a great job, and like Eric, I feel the same way. We have these consultants, and for those of you who had the opportunity to go and see the presentation that they did at the community center a couple of weeks ago, it was really heartening to me, because I did not love that idea of a 900 car structure on F lot. I didn't think it was in keeping with the character of our community, and I really feel that anything we do as a council, as a community, really needs to reflect our community character. I think that, living out in Vista Point, I see the exact same problem that Eric alluded to. I could walk to the rec center 3 times before I could take the bus there. We've got to work that out. I was someone who took public transportation for 10 years when I lived in New York City. I would never have thought about taking a cab or a car to work. So moving people out of cars, being creative, understanding who the users are of our system, whatever that system is. What about the people who are coming up from Denver, our destination guests? Understanding their needs and wants and designing a system that will holistically meet those needs in the various ways we're going to need to do it. That's going to take a lot of debate, a lot of conversation, and I'm really grateful that we were able to come to the fabulous agreement we did with the ski area as our partner to help us all manage that incredible guest experience.
Great, thank you. This question, that's the only question I'm going to ask you right now on parking and transit. We may come back to it in some of the audience questions, but the next question is, during Monday night's forum, you both shared your perspectives on town finance and workforce housing. Can you say a little bit more about what you feel is an appropriate role for town government in supporting housing, and how you would build support for your ideas? And so let's start with Jen, and then we'll go to Eric.
Well, for those of you who weren't here, one of the things that I think is a big differentiator is I do believe that the town has a role in developing housing for our workforce. I think we need to, if we want to maintain community character, this is something that we have to work on and work diligently to make sure that we address the rental needs, which the town has been doing an incredible job on now, but we also need to continue to work on that workforce. For the people who want the first-time home buyer, that move-up home buyer, and the people who have been here for a long time and want to downsize. I think community character is always number one for us, right? Make sure people of all walks of life live here. In the case of really low AMI housing and rental housing, this is a really great place for the government and our taxpayer dollars to go to work. We put together, I spent 8 years on the Housing and Child Care Committee working on these kind of issues, and the first thing we did is we created a strategy document. So we acquire land. I mean, we spent a whole bunch of time acquiring a lot of land, not just Block 11, but other smaller parcels around town where we can do small groups of 4 to 8 to 10 units. So, and the reality is that we chose initially with Valley Brook to partner with an outside developer, and that relationship didn't work out. So what we did as a town then is we created a nonprofit development corporation, and we built it, hiring our owner's rep to make it happen. When that project was done, we had 42 units on the ground, and it cost the taxpayers $2 million. Those units were, the majority of them are 80% of the AMI. There is no developer, Mike included, who can make those projects pencil. So those are the places I think that we really need to have our involvement. When we have stuff that's 100% of the area median income and up, there we have the opportunities to partner with people like David O'Neill and 10 Mile Partners and do projects like they did in Wellington, or even better, projects like they did in Frisco, where it was a true partnership between the town and the developer. So I think as we move forward, we're not going to solve this issue completely. Oops. That red time thing just flashed in front of my eyes.
Excellent, Eric.
So by the start of Jen's answer, you would think that I was not in favor of housing. And the difference is not that I don't believe the town should heavily participate with land, with fees, with water, with sewer, with treasure. I just don't feel that the town is capable of building projects on a mass scale. Sure, Valley Brook worked out great, but to think that the town of Breckenridge, that we are going to, by committee, build housing, I think is wrong. Wellington has been a fantastic success because there is a man with a vision. There are not 7 people that have 7 different visions that are going to argue about, all these facets of building affordable housing. I think as the government, we provide the tools to incite the development community to come to us and say, hey, we'll take that land and this is what we're going to do and this is what we need from you to make that happen. That's I think where we differ. I don't want to be the general contractor on 9 or 1,300 homes. That is not in my wheelhouse at all. We actually did this on the police station. We ended up doing by committee, designing the police station, which I think was really a messed up way to do business. So that's the difference. I think the treasure of the town goes into affordable housing plus land and some other things, and we get somebody to do it for us.
Excellent, thanks. I'm looking through this stack of audience questions, and there's some really good questions in here. So I have a couple more on my list, but I think I'm going to shake it up a little bit and get to some more audience questions right away. So this one is, what would you change in the town's fiscal policy making? And so Jen will have you go first, and then Eric second.
She went first.
Sorry, Eric first, and then Jen second. Thanks.
That's a hard question because, honest to God, for the last 4 years, I haven't sat down and really looked at the budget. There are things that are very important to me, but as one of 7 people, there are things that are important to all 7 people that sit on the council. For me, it's going to be things that reflect community character, things like transit, making sure that the businesses in this community can thrive. I run a fairly decent sized business, so my grasp on financials, while it might not be Dudick level, is still, is pretty good. I can sit down and drone on through that terrible budget session and really enjoy myself and have the right conversations and the right arguments to make sure that the money is being spent in the right places.
We went through an exercise my last couple of years on council where we went through all of the money that the town had in various funds and allocated those, so we felt that would meet the needs over the future. We put together performance for all of those things. I think that was a great step. One of the things that I feel was really good out of that process was we talked about what would happen in a catastrophic situation for our community and how would we pay if there were no visitors coming, because for those of you who aren't familiar with the town budget, the vast majority of our funds don't come from us as locals spending dollars in the town. It comes from the visitors, that 1.7 million people, as well as everyone that comes here over the summer. I think that one of the things we need to challenge over time that we need to really delve into is being a sales tax-based economy, and what happens, because that can't possibly grow at the rate our expenses grow, especially over the long term. So how do we manage that? How do we manage times when we have to make those hard decisions? How do we reach out to the community to make sure that the decisions that we're making are reflective of your wants and desires? This is that public engagement piece. I would really love to see a room like this when we have our budget hearing. It's frankly not very exciting, but it would be interesting if people had a chance to understand better where all of the town funds go and how they are allocated. So I think from that standpoint, it's really good. I'd also love to work with the town manager to see if there's opportunities for the council to be more involved in the early budgeting that they do, because our staff starts in July for our October budget retreat. So it would be interesting, I think, if we could get a glimpse of how that happens at a department level and provide input even at that point.
Great, thank you. All right, so as more businesses and entrepreneurs come to town, how do you think we might preserve our unique Main Street, i.e. the unique boutique shops, while stay authentic to the style of Breckenridge? So Jen, we'll start with you on this one, and then Eric.
You know, we delved into this. Eric will remember, we both talked about this a lot. When we had these conversations back in the last boom of the economy, we were getting a lot of flack because we had a lot of real estate offices on Main Street and t-shirt shops, and how do we create a bigger variety? And we actually looked at policy that would limit the amount of office space along Main Street in different ways, and the council ultimately decided to let the market do that job. I personally think that we should continue to let the market do the job. I like the fact that, you know, there is a bit of a high bar of entry to our restaurants in the community, because that means the people who are coming here know how to make those things work, and we're not going to have a revolving door. I believe that the town and the economic prosperity here will bring those people here, and the people who are successful and have a good business plan will have the opportunity to work with people like the BTO to figure out if this is the right spot for them and if they can weather our economic cycles. And so really for me, this is a market question.
Eric?
Yeah, I'm also a free market. I believe in the free market. It's honestly, with our historic district and the way our planning commission works, and the way the structure of the community is, and what it actually costs to become a restaurant from a retail, or vice versa. It's difficult. I mean, it's difficult. So it's not like we're going to see some big sea change where all of a sudden there's going to be a Walmart on Main Street. That just won't happen. I think we need to give some assistance to some of the newer things that are really trying. It sort of goes back to one of the questions on the council. What about new industry? Well, the two guys from Broken Compass are here right now, and they're trying to expand their brewery. And the guys at Breck Distillery are trying to expand their distillery. And there's two shining examples for you of, there's some new industry for you in town. I think it'll be up to the council to really help those guys make those things work. And I think those are the kind of things that, on one hand, I really want to do, but I will tell you, on the other hand, I am not in favor of chain places in Breck. I fought against McDonald's when they tried to come in. I was on council. It was like my first year on council, and the guy wanted to put a McDonald's. I do not want to become every place USA. I love the charm. Starbucks is fine because it's in a quaint little building, so it works there. But for somebody to come in and try to do some big box or chain restaurant or anything like that on the outskirts of town, I would, honest to God, fight as much as I could to keep that away, because those are the kind of things that really chip away at the beauty and the life of what we offer in this community. If I wanted to live in Longmont, I'd move to Longmont. So. Nothing against Longmont, if any of you are from it. That just came to my mind.
All right, excellent. So High Country Conservation Center recently asked all candidates to respond to a short survey on community sustainability. And one of the questions was about your support for adopting pay-as-you-throw programs in Breckenridge. I think all of the candidates, including the town council ones, responded fairly affirmatively, and I think it was varying degrees of yes. Please share any additional details about your position on pay-as-you-throw and say a bit more on this issue. So.
Was it me now?
I think
Oh.
it's you, yeah.
Yes, Eric.
So, I won't lie, my pay-as-you-throw knowledge is fairly small. You know, for my household, pay-as-you-throw is great, because we generate very little trash and a ton of recycling. I don't know what this means to the lodging community or the rental community. And I don't even know what this is gonna mean to the restaurant community. I do like it in principle, I really do, but I need a lot more information before I would definitively say, yeah, that sounds great. And, you know, the trash haulers in the community have not really been partners. They've been, you know, they're sorry, I'm blanking on the word. Anyway, they exist for the money that they get as the hauler, and they need to sort of come into the group and say, look, this is what we're going to offer. This is how much it's going to cost. This is the benefit to the community. So, you know, I'm into it as far as I'm into it.
All right, Jen.
Yeah, you know, I'm actually lucky. I grew up with pay-as-you-throw. I lived in a community that was about 3 times this size, and at some point along the way when I was like 14, it came in town. So for those of you that don't understand this, typically the way it works is you have an allocated amount of trash. In Vail, the way they've done it is you, as a family, choose the kind, it's really a residential program. Initially there, you choose the size barrel that you need, and when you need to throw away more, you pay for it. What that does is it incentivizes people to recycle more, so the people who aren't recyclers either have the choice of paying for all the stuff that they could recycle, which then helps offset the recycling that we all do, the care and keeping of the landfill. And for those of us who are incented to recycle more, we can actually pay less for trash on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Our recycling diversion rates in the county are like less than 14%. It's really embarrassing, especially for a community like this that tries so hard. And I had the opportunity to sit on the landfill task force and substitute in for Wendy a couple of times. And you know, one of the things I learned there is we are incredible recyclers. The bottle recycling people love our glass because it's pure, like either clear or brown. So this is something that is really a strong value for our community. And whatever we can do to keep pushing those numbers and make ourselves more successful, I think that those are programs that make sense for our community. I think we'll have to work hard to see how that impacts, like Eric said, the lodging community, especially where we have multifamily buildings. What does it mean for them? And is this a program that we could do like our bag fees, where we work very closely with the community to come up with a program that works?
Great. Okay, so this is an audience question. Breck has perhaps 3 distinct constituencies: business owners, visitors, and residents / taxpayers. What's your opinion on the biggest need facing residents and property owners?
I think, honestly, residents and property owners aren't the ones who are worried about workforce housing. But I would say keeping community character, making our community, continuing to have it be the place that we moved here and wanted to stay forever. If you haven't had the opportunity to look at our vision plan, this is something the community put together about 12, 15 years ago, and I think it still reflects well today. We asked people, how do you want to be in 50 years? What do we want the community to be like? And the number one thing that came out was community character. All the other stuff falls under it, from economic viability and sustainability to housing to education to recreational resources. And I think one of the things, in Tim Gagan's exit interview, he said that we have to safeguard this place because we could lose it so quickly. And so whatever it is, whenever we're looking at something, whether it's a new project for housing, whether it's an event, whether it is a new policy with regard to planning, These are things that we all need to reflect on, and we need to keep coming back and asking that question. How is it going to affect the people who live and work and play here? Is this the best for that? You know, I come to the table, I had the opportunity to retire from my HOA business that I've been doing for the last 10 years, so this is somewhere I can really give my time and be that conduit for the community to have these conversations. And for me, that is, I mean, and I think, quite frankly, for everyone up here, this is why we're doing this. We want to keep this community great. We are not like Donald Trump. We don't have to make it great. It already is. We just have to keep it that way.
All right, Eric.
Could you say those three constituencies again?
Yeah, so they have business owners, visitors, and residents / taxpayers, property owners, sort of 3 slashes.
So, first of all, I think there's more than that, and second of all, I think everybody fits into a couple of those things. I mean, I'm a business owner, but I'm a resident. I've been a resident for 30 years, and I've been a business owner for 26 of those. And I don't do decisions I make aren't always based on my restaurant or my pocketbook. A lot of the decisions I make are based on how I feel about the community. You know, I mountain bike all summer long, so I don't make decisions about trails because it's going to affect the restaurant. So, Jen's right. Community character is the big thing. You know, you think back on why you moved here or what kept you here. You know, I moved here for a month. I was on my way to law school, and my parents moved here, and I came with them, and I ended up staying because it's an awesome place. And would I like town to be back to how it was in '86? Well, in some ways, yeah. But that's, the horse left the barn in the '70s. You know, we planned a lot of this stuff so long ago that that's gone. And now Denver's gotten to a size that you're not keeping them out of here. So the real task is, how do we hold on to what we love and accommodate the things that you're not going to be able to stop? People come here in May now. You know, I see these people all the time. I talk to hundreds of people when we're busy and dozens of people when we're not. And people come here because they love Breck. And they drive up in May to Breckenridge because we're here and we're close and we're easy to get to and we're awesome. And you know, the goal is to just hold on, just with as much as we can to, keeping people living in the community, keep people happy in the community, and at the same time try to fit all that stuff in. So it's hard. I mean, you can just hear these are the big questions too, and there's the sign.
All right, we're gonna shift to our closing statements. You guys will have 4 minutes for your closing statements, so you'll have a bit longer. You may not even want to talk for 4 minutes, but I'm gonna pose it as 2 questions, so 2 questions in 4 minutes. The first one is similar to what we asked the town council candidates. What have you not been asked that you wish you had been asked? That can be today, that can be over the couple of the forums. What have you not been asked enough during the course of your campaign? And then the second one is, why are you the best choice for mayor? And so the coin toss said that we would start with Eric.
All right. So a couple things have come up. You know, these campaigns are, I got to tell you, this is the worst part. I love sitting on council. I love sitting in the chair. I love all the, minute decisions we make, the stuff you talk about, going out afterwards for the real council meeting when you have a couple of beers and you can, sort of let loose. I love this. I love this job up here. Even though it's a volunteer, for the most part, part-time job, I love it. And in the course of the campaign, you hear stuff about yourself that is crazy. So there's 2 things that I've heard about myself. Number one, I hate the arts, which, no, I know. I don't understand this. So I ask a question about the amount of money we're putting into the arts district. It's just a question. And I think it's the question that the mayor of Breckenridge needs to ask to find out what goes on there. What are we doing? Why, when I drive by, are the rooms dark? Well, that's just a question. I have supported the NRO, the BMF, the Backstage Theater since the days when we had no money to support anybody. I don't say that because I want you to love me. I say that because that's just how our life has been. So the arts are critical to our community. So let me put that to bed right now. The second question is that I'm going to torpedo the Benson Placer and get rid of the affordable housing. Now, I don't know where that came from. I have I have hundreds of employees that roll in and out of my place all the time, and they need housing. I asked the question of why don't we go back and let's look, like Wendy said earlier, let's look at the gondola lots, the airport property, and the McCain property as one and figure out, once what we've committed to is being built, would you rather live on the airport property or would you rather live on the McCain property down by the river? And it's just a question. I haven't really made my mind up either way, but I think it's something the council needs to step back and look at and answer. So I am neither against art or affordable housing, and let's, now everybody knows. Secondly, I want to thank the BTO, number one, for putting this on, but number two, for digging us out of the hole. I know it was a terrible transition from what, the marketing used to be to what it is today, and I am busy. I am busy, and I think in a large part, I think it's to the work that the BTO has done. So, thank you for this, but more importantly, thank you for making me successful again. I think that's really important. I also want to thank Tim Gagan for his 16 years. I was on council with him for 8, and he was awesome. And I'm sure Rick's going to be awesome now. What do I bring? I bring leadership. I bring experience. I bring a lot of interpersonal relationships too. As most of you know, I know a lot of you in the audience, and you probably know more about me, but I know a lot about all of you, and I think a big part of the mayor's job is dealing with that guy in the back of the room, Rick Holman, who's now the manager. And those are the kind of relationships that I'm actually really good at. I'm a bit of a hermit at home sometimes, but I love the individual. I can look around this room and see people that I've had really good in-depth conversations with. And that's what I bring. You can find me all the time at the restaurant and tell me what I'm doing wrong, or tell me what I'm doing right, or tell me what the council's doing right. Because when I sat on the council for those 8 years, I was the go-to. I was the guy that when we screwed up the defensible space thing, the people came in and wagged their finger in my face and told me why we were a bunch of idiots. But that's what I bring. That's who I am. You can come find me and tell me your problems and tell you what we need, and I'm happy to forward that to the council and bring those important things up. Because if there's anything that really shows community character, it's that. It's that you can go to your local government and get stuff done.
Thank you. Jen?
Like Eric, I think that this campaign thing, this is the first time in 32 years we've had a mayoral race. So it is a very interesting and fun thing. I have so enjoyed being out and chatting with people and having the opportunity to expand those circles that I know in the community. I've done a lot of work with the arts. I've done a lot of work with the school system. I've done a lot of work through council. One of the things that people ask me sometimes, and maybe I shouldn't go here, was, aren't you too nice? And I really don't believe that being a nice person precludes my ability to be a strong leader. I believe that by reaching out to people, by building consensus, by listening closely to the people who are the most opposite of me, those are the times that I learn. As a council, I found, while I have great ideas, my ideas are best when they're mixed with people like Eric and Jeffrey and Lee and Wendy and Mike and Randy. Those are the times that we come together and we make the decisions that are most reflective of the community. That's when we make the really good policy. I believe that my skills in terms of leader and my style is really conducive to getting that kind of stuff done. I also believe that I have a strong vision. I saw the benefits, and I always believed that CMC building, when we purchased it in 2007, needed to be a place that was a heart and soul of our community. We needed to do the job as the town to be the stewards of that building for the next 200 years. I believe that the Arts District was something I was early on. I'm so glad that Eric loves the arts, so if I don't get elected, I don't have to worry about them. But the bottom line is, I actually knew that was the case. But the bottom line is, those are the things that are the heart and soul of the community and make it a really special place to live. We're going to be faced with the opportunity to expand the rec center. That's going to need to be a really big conversation. You know, I learned from Jeffrey Bergeron, sitting next to him for a really long time. I watched him. He listened until the last person spoke, and he never made up his mind until that was done. Because sometimes it's the last person that says something that gives you the aha moment. When he left council, I pledged to be that person. And I pledged as a mayor to be that person. I think that all of you have great ideas and need to be heard. And I think someone who's good at doing that, I managed HOAs for the last 10 years. I worked with 4 different boards that turned over on an annual basis. You know, those people don't work for me, I worked for them. And I was able to help those groups be successful and manage their neighborhoods and have good, strong budgets and take them out of financial holes that they were in. So those are some of the skills that I bring that many of you may not know about me. I'm also an avid outdoors person. If you see my latest Facebook ad, I spend about 30 days a year on a river camping in primitive campsites. That's stuff that people don't know about me. So I have a depth of experience and knowledge in terms of our environment, in terms of our community, how we partner with people like the school district, like the ski area, like Breck Grand Vacations. I also have done tons of work with early childhood. I serve on Early Childhood Options Board and have for years now, and I'm also on the Child Care Advisory Board. I spent 8 years on our Housing and Child Care Committee. I understand the complexity of these issues, and I really think at the end of the day that I can stand up and represent you as a community and keep our town moving forward and be the great place that it is.
All right, thank you both. Can we give both candidates a round of applause?